All right, and we are rolling. So, um, yeah, how you going, man? How's things?
I'm
How's
good.
it going? Hey, good stuff. So yeah, just wanted to talk about this how the community is how the community of musicians in Brisbane, Australia, is sort of opening up to a safe space for musicians, and uh, how that community is becoming an outlet for musicians, and how music itself is an outlet for mental health, and it can be therapeutic and perhaps not in some ways. So yeah, just yeah.
Yeah, well, as you know, you found me through a page that I created a couple of years ago called Music for Mental Health, and music itself is an amazing tool for therapy for mental health issues and outlets for people who are creative to escape from the moments in time that are difficult. My page itself, the title Music for Mental Health, is not actually focused on how music is a mental health escape, but it's actually an acronym for Musicians United to Support, Inform, and Care for Mental Health. So, using the word music, best I could come up with. And I created it out of a what could have been a tragic event, where a friend of mine called me one afternoon saying that she couldn't cope anymore and she was going home to kill herself. And so I tried to ring her back after she hung up, and she didn't answer. So I dialed triple O and jumped straight in the car and drove to her house. The cops got there before I did. They couldn't get the back door open because it had been dead bolted. And they tried to the garage. She was in the garage gassing herself. And they smashed out the back window, but the amount of fumes in there meant that they weren't able to risk going in through the small entryway. And I started throwing my body against the door and broke the whole door frame down and got in there and got her out of the car and out the front garage. And yeah, she's kicking ass now, which is a good thing, and doing
Mm.
really, really well. In that moment, though, I then had to fly out the next day to Mount Isa for a series of shows. And I think in that isolation of being in a hotel room by myself after such a traumatic event,
Yeah.
I went, this is just shit. And I started, sorry for the cussing,
No worries, man.
but I jumped on and started searching for a place to talk. And I have my friends who I talk to and I'm very open with, and that's just my nature. And I just thought to myself, what if she had been searching online for somewhere to talk to people openly and couldn't find it? So I went, where are these things so I could share them? I wanted to share them with the community and with the people that I know and love. And I couldn't find anything. So
Wow.
I created something. I started brainstorming ideas with myself and I put it together and I got it happening and I told a couple of people about it. And when I got back, I went straight over to one of my good friends, Steve, to his place from the airport, drove straight there and showed him what I'd come up with. And he went, mate, this is needed. And I went, so I should put this out there. And I put it out there. And in the first few days, it so many people joined and
That's fantastic.
conversations started happening and I had to figure it out fast because things started heading in directions that I wanted it to go in and things started heading in directions I didn't want it to go in. And in that moment, I amazingly triggered my mental health. My anxiety went to hell and all that sort of stuff. And I almost pulled the page down.
Yeah.
And it was about 3 days into it, I think it was. And I was sitting with a friend of mine and literally saying to them, I think I'm just going to remove it. I can't handle this. It's too much. And in that moment, I got a text message from someone in the community who I hadn't seen or spoken to in years. and they said, "Hey, mate, can you call me? I need to talk to you about something important." And I went, "Oh, crap, here's someone else going to be telling me I'm doing it wrong." And, but I've got balls, so I rang, and he said, first thing he said was, "Thank you so much for creating this space. It's something that we need." And I said, "Well, I was just about to pull it down." And he goes, "Mate, if you do that, I'll come around there and I'll beat you up myself."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, that's really good." And I left it up, and I just had to learn how to deal with the things that were going to happen. And it's been a long process, and it's sort of slowed down a lot, as things do. It comes and goes in waves, a lot of the time based upon my own state of mind and that whether I can put things into it or not. And at the moment, I'm putting myself back into it, and I've also brought in Steve, who I mentioned before. He's gone off and done some mental health training and stuff, and now I've put him on as a co-admin on it. And so it's gonna pick back up again, which is hopefully it's helped a lot of people over time. And it's basically just a space where musicians can go in there if they want to and put a post up saying, "I'm not coping," or they can talk about something that's annoying the crap out of them. A quick example is I did a gig the other week, and I did the first set, and it felt really, really good. And like, I'm going, "This is really good." It was a daytime gig, and people were enjoying it and that. And I went up to the bar to get some water, and this bloke comes up and tells me that the people here like rock and roll dancing, and what I'm playing is not what they like. So start playing this sort of stuff. And it just threw the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then of course, where did that bloke sit? Right at the front, dead set in front of me. And so I put a post up about that, and not so much because I couldn't handle it, because I could, like, it affected me. At the same time, I was able to focus on all the people that were enjoying it. But it's amazing how just one comment can completely throw the entire energy, because as humans, one thing I've learned is we feed on fear. We feed on the negative, unfortunately, because of the whole survival mechanisms.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and also people only ever remember you for the time that you make a mistake. They never remember the hundreds and thousands of times that you do things well.
Yeah.
So hopefully what I've created here,
once
I get it going back up, and some other offshoots that I'm working on at the moment, we'll pick it up and take it forward. So yeah, so the Music for Mental Health page, it's a private page, so you can't see anything on it unless you are a member of the group, and you have to agree to the terms and answer a couple of questions before you get in. So it is truly a safe space, and I've only had to remove, I think, 2 or 3 people from it who were not, in my opinion and other people's opinions, suitable to the group and the direction it goes in. And I hope that they find what they need. Unfortunately, it just wasn't where we are.
Yeah.
So it's a safe. I try and make it as safe as possible, putting it lightly.
Well, only a couple of people being kicked out for a Facebook group. That's pretty good.
It has been really good. It has been really good. So yeah, so that gives you the rundown of what that group is that you joined the other week, and yeah, you're more than welcome to be in it, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, I'll just clear that up. As you just said, I've only just come into this a couple of weeks ago specifically to talk about this, because I wanted someone to be able to represent this topic, because I think it's super important. Because I mean, I've been a musician for a good part of my life. I mean, I'm only 19 years old, so but I've been playing music since I was 7. And so
it's funny, because when someone says that to me, it freaks me out, because I was playing in bars and clubs before you were even thought of.
Yeah, absolutely.
but it's just a funny thought, and that's one of those things that you sort of it throws you into a bit of a reality check and a perspective that things have changed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a very different world now, and to be honest, it's a lot harder for musicians now than it was back then.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Yeah, no. So I've been in the music scene, and I'm a guitarist, and currently studying sound engineering.
Yep.
And you know, when I came into high school and that sort of thing, and decided I wanted to be in this industry for life. Um, you know, I've it's been some rough times since then. There's been a few things that haven't been so great, and you know, I think I kind of understand that desperation and that need for like just a support group out there for specifically people in my industry and people dealing with the same stuff. So I think that's really interesting that you just found a niche sort of need and sort of like a community desire to have just a support group for people in this industry, because obviously there's unions for a lot of the working world and working community. There is a union for mental health here in Australia. I'm not sure if it's very solid. I've been to their website and that sort of thing. I did know that my great grandmother actually was like one of the founders or something like that, which is interesting. But yeah, no, it's very interesting that the community just sort of invented itself, and you became this, just a curator of something that's really special, and that I assume means a lot to a lot of people, and I will definitely be saying.
Yeah, in regards to that, there's a foundation called Mental Awareness Foundation, and I don't know if that might be what you're thinking of. I don't know about a union personally, but mental
There
awareness.
is a
Okay,
union for
okay.
musicians, entertainers, and journalists. Yeah,
Oh, there is a union for musicians called Musicians Australia,
yeah.
and yeah, that's another topic. But that's not so much focused on mental health though. That's just like a union to try and get rights for musicians in regards to pay rates and
Oh,
and
absolutely,
standards and that sort of, which affects mental health. So it's got
absolutely.
a non-flow to mental health, of course. But the mental interesting thing, because you mentioned that, Mental Awareness Foundation is something that you should check out, mentalawarenessfoundation.org, because a mate of mine, Jade Holland, has come on board last year as an official ambassador for it. And she's been through a lot, so she'd be someone well worth having on your podcast if you want someone else to have a chat to. She is phenomenal. She'd be more than happy to. She's a lovely, lovely person, with a great story to tell. Like, she told me her story when we were at a gig just before the end of last year, and I was just amazed at what she's been through and the resilience that she's got. It's incredible. So getting on to what you were mentioning earlier about music being both a positive and a negative, the industry and music itself, and its influence in that, I gather, is what you're sort of trying to get to.
Yeah.
So being a musician is a very freeing lifestyle to live, and that's why a lot of people look at it and see it as a hobby and don't take it seriously. The number one question that we all get asked as musicians is, what's your real job? Or so what do you do during the week? Or so is this your only income? It's like, yeah. And that throws your mental health into a spin, of course. And with that, freedom and that sort of stuff can create initially a bit of a lack of structure. It creates an abundance of structure if you're the kind of person who really sits down and practices, and regimental type person and mindset. In most of us, I think it's a generalization to say most of us, but I do believe that most musicians, the passion comes first, and sometimes the business aspect or the structure comes second, and that's what can, in a lot of cases, create a lot of the mental health struggles for musicians. So what I mean by that is that getting paid, knowing what you're getting paid, knowing and understanding that just because you're playing in a band with someone doesn't mean that they're necessarily a real friend. That's a deep one. That's a really deep one. Because, for example, we'll go to a jam night where we meet people, and you'll meet, I'm a bass player, I'll meet a drummer. We'll have a great jam, and then it's like, man, we should hang out sometime. And we never do.
Yeah. Until
the next jam. But then we go, yeah, I'm friends with that guy. No, you're not. Like you played a jam with them. Oh, they booked you for a gig. The business aspect, the separation of things and being able to define things, because we see each other as such, tacky word, a family, less tacky word, a community, which we are, and we do have to support each other, which is why I created what I created. At the same time, we need to be able to look at oneself and define who we are and what we want in life. And if we don't do that, then the potential for mental health issues, anxiety and depression, in my eyes, anxiety being the fear of the unknown and the forward thinking, and depression being stuck in the past and not being able to let go of things that happened. And understanding that definition was a turning point for me, being able to control myself or own my own position. And that was only about 3 or 4 years ago that I read an article of someone talking about their anxiety, and I went, oh my goodness, I do have depression, but it ain't the primary thing. It's the getting, texting someone and then someone not replying back and going, why aren't they texting? That's the unknown, and that's anxiety. Whereas, that person told me I suck, I'm no good, is depression element. And I can tend to let go of the depression side of things. The anxiety, that's a harder one.
Absolutely the same.
And funnily enough, people say, do you use music as an outlet? And this may blow people's minds, but I don't. For example, I very, very rarely listen to music when I'm in the car. People assume that musicians always listen to music 100% of the time, and some do. I got a friend who just doesn't stop singing. She literally, I go to catch up, she'll get out of the car, she'll sing the whole way getting over to the cafeteria or something. It's just that person is in it. At the same time, I've had conversations with them about the fact that a lot of the times when they're driving, they'd rather listen to podcasts or talkback radio, because I've just done a 4-hour gig of playing music. The last thing I really want to do is listen to more music. I want to wind down and take away from it. So sometimes escaping from the music is more therapeutic than just diving back into the same thing all the time. And I think a lot of people can benefit from stepping out of it. Like those people, I've got a mate who's got a lot of mental health issues and has been in and out of hospital. At one point, he was doing like 13 gigs a week.
Wow. That's
and these are complex gigs, jazz gigs, corporate gigs, wide variety. The amount of work and time he had to put into doing that and doing it at the ability that he is, because he's a master of his craft.
Yeah.
When's the downtime?
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I'm not sure what it is about me as a person or what I do, because, obviously I'm just studying audio at the moment. I don't do it for a full-time job quite yet. But what I do and what I love requires for me to sort of just understand music to its very maximum. Well, I think it does anyway. A lot of people would disagree with me. A lot of audio engineers would just go, they hate music, and they just do it for the job opportunity and play with some toys. But they're more like I know exactly the kind of person you're talking about. And I know of someone who, for example, runs a sound company
the thing is that they openly admit they don't know how to tune a PA. They don't know how to operate a desk. They don't know how to pull a sound and that sort of stuff. But they are so passionate about the gear and owning the gear and understanding like the potential of it. I guess it's kind of like the way I look at that. Sorry to cut in, but the way I'd look at that is the person who maintains the Formula One race car or owns the Formula One race car is not the driver. The person who owns the racehorse isn't the jockey.
Yeah, no.
You know, that race car driver or the Bathurst driver or whatever, they are the master of operating.
Yeah.
They are the dude who gets on that console and drives it and makes it sound amazing. But then it's very different nowadays. See, you're only coming into it in this era where digital's around.
Yeah.
Back when I started and studied under a master by the name of Ian Taylor, because my background's actually audio engineering as well.
Yeah.
And you used to have what was called a system tech. The system tech was the dude who knew how everything plugged in, how everything had to be set gain structure wise, and everything had to marry up so that when the operator came in for any band, for example, at a festival, you'll still have a system tech. They don't have to do as much these days because it's all digital. But with the old days, they would have the spec sheet there, and a lot of the times two setups side by side while one band's mixing, they're over at the other setup repatching everything in and all that sort of stuff, getting it all going. They didn't need to have good ears. You know, they didn't need to hear what needed to be heard, but they needed to know that if something stops working, I can fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're the mechanic.
Works, yeah.
And me, as an engineer and a producer and a live and a studio engineer, I was always of the mindset of I don't need to necessarily know how to, if one of the channels goes down in my console here in the studio, I'll give it a bit of a squirt with some cleaner and see if that cleans it up, or I'll yell into the channel or clean the inserts out or whatever. And if that brings it to life, woohoo, I'll wait till it stops again. But if I can't get it working, I pull that channel strip out, or I take that console into Warren Huck and I say, Huck, fix. Yeah. And he goes, no worries. I don't ask him a price or anything. I just let him do it. And then it's fixed. And he goes, it's going to cost you this much. And I say, mate, can I have a week to pay for that? Because I'm broke. Typical musician. And he'll go, fine, as long as it's only a week. And I go and pick it up. I put it back in my studio and it works. Yeah. You know, because I'm not that geek. I'm not Rupert Neve. No. But, you know, there's guitar builders out there that can build the most beautiful guitars. You know, a lot of the guitars and were built by cabinet makers. A lot of the amplifiers were built by Vox Factory. Was a whole heap of, sewing. It was an old sewing machine factory, and they employed people from there. And don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But they had these people that just had to follow instruction. Put this there, solder it to there, do it to there, do it to there. They followed a procedure. They didn't know what they didn't know what the things did. They just followed the procedure, and they did it really, really well. Yeah. And that's why they had their job. So there's no harm in that. So we diverted, but it was interesting.
Absolutely. And I sort of see myself as, you know, I try to do as much as possible. So I do play music. I absolutely love to record and mix and that sort of thing. I am fully passionate about making things sound as good as they possibly can. And I absolutely love the process. But, you know, if there's something broken, not necessarily in a console, because, I mean, I've only been introduced to those very, very recently. I've only just been working on a Neve Custom Series 75 in SA Studios in Brisbane. And nice. So I've just been introduced to that last trimester, and I'm obviously absolutely loving it. So I would have no idea how to, go in and fix something like that. But smaller electronics and guitars and pedals, mic leads and microphones and all that sort of stuff I can do. But and I just see every single part of the process as an outlet for me to be able to cope with other things as well.
Dude, for me, one of my best outlets and one of my favorite moments when I've had a bad experience, for example, someone's given me a bit of a shit lip on a gig or something, is rolling my leads at the end of the gig.
Yeah, that's a good sort of bit of therapy, rolling leads, and
because it's mundane.
Yeah,
it's just process over under. And I don't have to think. It switches off the thinking part of the brain and allows you to just breathe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people find that just ridiculous, but I love Packdown.
No, I
much more than a setup.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree, especially because it's a lot quicker as well. Because I've been doing live sound recently in class as well, and that's been quite a lot of fun.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think it's very interesting to see the dynamism of how each and every musician actually copes with their mental health, and if they absolutely, if they can't, which a lot of people are having troubles with a lot of the time, if they can't, they can obviously go and turn to your group now, which is it's really cool. And
well, that's what I wanted, like I just want somewhere where if someone's really not feeling their best, that they can put that out there. And to be honest, one of the places where I was inspired to do a page like this at the time, obviously from the event that happened, but my way of looking at it and the way I want it to be is I do a workout program called DDP Yoga, which is a wrestler in the States called Diamond Dallas Page.
Right.
And yeah, if you want to be inspired, look up a video called Never Ever Give Up.
Okay.
And it's a video of a guy called Arthur Borman. It'll blow your mind. But where this comes into play is that there is a page on Facebook called DDP Yoga Members Only, which is not actually for members only. That's just what they called it. And anyone who goes and joins will be accepted. And that page, for reference, hopefully nothing beeps here when I go into here, but if I go like notifications and stuff, I'm just going into Facebook, DDP Yoga Members Only. This page has got 8.6 thousand members.
Wow. And
in the years that I've been in it, I think I've seen one troll.
Wow. That's impressive.
When you go there, you see nothing but support. You see someone put up a post about something that they've fallen off the wagon. Everyone's there. You got this, man. Just get back on the mat. Just, you've learnt something, mate. You've learnt what doesn't work. Move forward, Don't repeat the same thing over and over again. If you do, though, that's all right. Yeah, it's all support and all positive. And there was a post that went up on there. I was at a gig on a Sunday afternoon and took a break. And as soon as I went on the break, the first thing that came up in my news feed was a post from someone moments earlier in Canada who was having a really, 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 really bad day. And he basically said on the post, hey, I'm in some area in Canada. Is anyone around that I can sit and talk with? And there wasn't a reply on there yet, but I jumped on and I called him through Messenger. And I said, man, let's I've got 20 minutes. Let's talk, what's going on. And I spoke to this complete, total utter stranger on the other side of the world until someone said they're in the area and he met up with us. It's support.
Wow. Yeah.
And our industry, man, and you've been in it from a young age, but now you're 19, you're in it, like you're actually able to get out there and do things without all of the gates and stuff getting in the way. Our industry it feeds on this toxic toxic mentality. And for example, you'll see someone, or someone will see someone on stage. I won't say you, because I doubt you. Someone will be up on stage doing what they do, putting their heart into it.
Yeah.
And someone's opinion will be that they suck.
Yeah.
And they will say, and I'm guilty of this over the years, of saying things like, man, why have they got a gig? I'm better than them. Hang on, I'm the one standing here not doing a gig. I need to better myself, is the truth of it. People will say, we like to tear down everyone else. And this is something I had a good conversation with someone about with jams, for example, jam nights. Back when I started in the scene, there was a guy called Vic who was running a jam night at the Paddo Tavern every Monday night, and it's legendary. And sadly, it's gone. There was a bloke who'd come along, and middle-aged man, always wanted to play guitar, never had. Vic said to him, bro, buy a guitar, I'll teach a brown-eyed girl. Taught him how to play it, and then what did he do? He was playing it badly, there's no doubt about it. But he got him up on stage, back of the band, acoustic guitar, not plugged in, and let him play.
Right.
And listen for a while, and then after a few months, he plugged the guitar in. So then he could hear the guitar in with the band. And then a few months later, he said, why don't you start learning to sing it, bro? And then after a while, he was up singing it and playing it and brought up to the level of the band.
Wow.
Was he as good? No. Yet a lot of jam nights that you go to in that, I get the fear. I've been playing bass for a long, long time, but I go to some jam nights and I go, I don't want to get up, man. Don't ask me to get up, because I don't know this stuff. I don't, and no one's going to lead me. No one's going to help me. No one's going to say, hey, man, these are the chords. Just watch me. I'll keep my left hand on that. No one does that in these situations.
Yeah.
We put, and people will turn around and go, oh, you're not good enough, man. Go on. When you're good enough, we'll let you up. That's not how you learn. That's not how you support. That's not how you bring people up.
Yeah, no.
And a lot of that mentality needs to change. The musician at the back of the room, when you're playing a gig on stage and you look at the back of the room, you see this dude standing there with his arms folded next to his mate, smirking and talking to his mate, and then looking back at you, then smirking and talking to his mate and laughing and sort of stuff. And you go, spot the musician. Yeah. Now, why are we like that? Why, as a culture, are musicians like that? You know why?
Well, yeah.
Fear.
Oh, yeah.
It's within themselves. They're thinking to themselves they're better, but the truth is a lot of the time they're thinking
feeding off their insecurities.
It's feeding off their insecurities. And then at other times, though, you've seen those people at the back of the room and assumed that, and my anxiety's kicked in. And then I take a set break, and that dude comes up and goes, man, you're brilliant. And I'm like, what? You know, that's the anxiety.
Yeah.
There's anxiety in music right there. And then after that guy said that, I get up and I play a great set, because I'm no longer worrying about that person up there.
Yeah.
So in that situation, is the music itself healing me? No, but maybe in those moments after I've let go of the anxiety and the fear, I'm then willing to be more adventurous and do some of the stuff that I know challenges me more.
Yeah.
Whereas when I'm fearful and I'm sitting there with the anxiety, I retreat to the crap that I know really well, and it's second nature. But I make mistakes while it's there because it gets in the way.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that needs to be thought about is how mental health affects your music.
Wow. Yeah.
Hadn't thought about that.
It's sort of a symbiosis.
It absolutely is, man. Like the music heals the people. I caught up with a friend of mine, Dave McGuire, the other day, and he's been involved in mental health for many, many years, and he does a lot of stuff with disabled people and community people and stuff like that, using music as therapy. There's Megan Washington, phenomenal singer. I didn't know this until recently, but she did a TED Talk years ago. She stutters.
Yeah.
She's got a stutter.
Right.
But when she sings, it goes away. And
Wow.
that's the King's Speech thing. It's very much like that.
Oh yeah,
The
absolutely.
amount of anxiety and stress that someone has because of a stutter, and I know other people who stutter who have the same thing, and the amount of anxiety and depression and stress and everything that goes on because of that, isn't it amazing that music turns it off?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I
it's a powerful thing.
I get that. I get that myself as well. Because generally, I'm a fairly shy person.
Yep.
I, quite introverted. Don't talk to a lot of people unless they're talking to me. And obviously, I love to talk to people. Especially people in the same field as me, because
Mm,
I'm interested in what they say. But
yeah.
I don't really initiate conversations, but get me in front of a desk with a couple of other people around, or get me on a stage with some other people, and I'll be chatting my ear off. I'll chat everyone's ear off. Seriously, it's so interesting how it just opens up your inhibitions and just sort of opens up any insecurities or anxiety that you have. I mean, obviously differs from person to person, but
Hmm.
for me and for a lot of other people, I've found it absolutely just changes them as a person.
Oh man, and even the physical instrument that you've chosen to, you know, have that symbiotic type connection with. For instance, for me, it's a bass or a guitar.
Yeah,
Um, if I'm at, once again, let's use jam nights as a reference. If I'm at a jam night and someone says, "Hey man, jump up and play a few tunes," if I strap a guitar on, I'll jump up and do a set. If someone says, "Hey man, jump up and sing a song with us,"
yeah, you'll be like, what?
I shit myself.
Yeah,
And I'm a singer. My voice is my instrument. It's my first and foremost my instrument, and the one that I put the most time and effort and money into.
right.
And at the same time, I feel naked and vulnerable if it's just me standing there and I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to
Wow.
do with
Yeah,
anything, and I start panicking and I get anxiety. But put a guitar on me or a bass on me, I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof.
yeah, absolutely. I'm
It's
I'm
it's
exactly
my
the same.
armor.
Yeah,
It's my armor. It's my shield.
yeah,
So, finding that sort of thing as well can be such a healing and powerful thing to have,
yeah,
in life. And um, so when you look at music as a therapy, or music as a tool for mental health, it's not just music itself, as in the whatever music is. What is music? What is
yeah,
music?
absolutely.
It doesn't actually. It's not a tangible thing.
Yeah, no,
It's not something that you can grab. It's an idea. It's a thought. It's something that you then have to use something else to bring it to people's ears. Um, it's a really interesting thing. It's a conversation it exists beforehand. It exists all the time. Getting a bit deep.
yeah,
The thing though is we choose a method of expressing that, and for a writer, it's a pen or a keyboard nowadays,
yeah,
or a touchpad. Um, for an artist, it is brushes and paints,
hmm.
or dirt or whatever. The actual idea of that piece of art is not tangible until it is turned into a tangible thing.
Yeah,
And once you find that life partner, if you lose it, for example, if you develop arthritis, like I I met a gentleman the other day, 70, nearly 80 years old,
hmm.
78, I think he is. Um, and he was a bass player in the circuit for many, many years, doing
Wow.
tribute shows. And he's got Parkinson's now.
Oh wow.
He
That's
can't play.
yeah,
The music hasn't gone. It's still in him.
yeah.
When
It's
I
just
grabbed his
his
bass the other
instrument
day,
to
and
express his
when I when I
music.
when I played his guitar in front of him, he lit up like a Christmas tree to see that it could still make the noise. Well, it's not making the noise. I am.
Yeah,
but it's still able to express its tonality and its life. And he lit up. I could see it, and he could see that the particular things that I bought off him that I was going to keep, he knew that they were going to live on. And then when they move on from me, they're going to move on. And he lit up like a Christmas tree.
That's fantastic.
You know, he can't play, he can't grab it. Now someone else can for him.
Yeah,
And that made him happy.
It's so like fascinating how we get attached to an instrument of expression, because obviously the instrument's just it's in realism it's a tool. I know all of us like to think of it as more, but that's our psychology going, you know, it's our voice, or it's our
our mode of expression, our outlet, our tool of expression, basically.
Yeah, a guitar's some pickups and quite a lot of wood, you know.
Timber, steel, and plastic.
Yeah,
that's all a guitar is. Timber, steel, and plastic. It's not until someone actually grabs it. Well, here's the thing. I'll if you haven't read already, there's a book that you should read. It's sitting right next to me because I buy copies of it now and give it to people. The Music Lesson by Victor Wooten.
I do know Victor Wooten, and I have heard of that book. I haven't had the opportunity to read it yet, but I will definitely have a look.
Just buy it, dude. And he's got a new one out called The Spirit of Music, which I'll be getting very shortly and reading, because it's the first book I've read in many, many years that I've just gone, thank you, you have. It took away a lot of my anxiety about myself as a musician.
Right.
It gave me permission to say thank you, and to myself and to my instrument and to the people that listen to me and appreciate what I do.
Yeah.
Without the judgment. For example, I'm not a con-trained musician, and I used to say, I can't teach because I don't have a piece of paper. Bollocks.
Yeah, no.
Bollocks. I can teach a lot more than some of those people can, and they can teach a lot more than what I can in different ways.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can play in a band without ever hearing a song and follow someone. Some people that can only read dots.
Yeah.
And hey, they can do something I can't do.
Yeah. Something that I've heard quite a lot from other fantastic musicians and people that I've met is that everyone in this creative industry is less, more, and as good as each other in the craft.
Of course.
Simultaneously, because, you know, there are just so many different variables to be able to, and they're unquantifiable. You know, they're completely unquantifiable. And
show me two musicians, put them side by side, who are identical. It'll never happen.
No, never. It's like snowflakes.
Fingerprints, snowflakes, retinas, everything. Definitely. It is completely unique, and that is the beauty of it. And once we accept that, then we can say, you know, why worry about it?
Yeah. Well, we're coming on to time.
Yeah, I think we should call it. Yeah.
I would like to just ask you one more question. And where do you see, or where do you aspire to have this group and this community that you've created? Where do you see that going in the next 5, 10, even 15 years?
I hope that in some form of existence, it's still helping people and just being what it needs to be at the time. As I said, I've got some other things that I'm working on at the moment. Yeah. For me, I'll be honest with you, I personally hope that social media and online music services and that sort of stuff completely change. I wouldn't be that upset if Facebook disappeared tomorrow. Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people share that opinion.
I'm a big believer in the fact that social media is anti-social media. And for me, I really do hope that there is a massive shift in that. And when it does shift, if there is something appropriate that can be a platform for what I'm trying to do, then I will certainly, hopefully, move it in that direction.
Yeah.
If something else comes along that does it better, I will gladly tell people to move on to that, because for me, it is not about me. It is not about my page. It is about people getting the help that they need, and about people having the access to the outlet and to the knowledge that they need to get through the tough times and hopefully pull through and be stronger for it.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I think that's a very good perspective to sort of sit on. So yeah.
If tomorrow something else came out, another page, and all of the people on my group moved over to that, and I put up a poll saying, hey, who's in this group now that's in here? Is anyone not in that group? And everyone goes, no, I'm in there now. It's really good. It's really good. And I go, well, there's a few people that aren't. Maybe let's move over to that, guys, and let's start talking in there. I'll leave this in the background in case something goes on over there, but it's not about me or my brand.
No.
It's about people having a safe space.
Creating an international community. Absolutely.
And let me ask you a quick question. How did you stumble across the page?
Well, I did a sort of, I mean, not initially, but I surveyed sort of the other mental health support and awareness groups that I'm in, because I'm in quite a few, and I'm quite an active member of them, because I try to help people as much as possible, and also at some points I do need help myself. But yeah, and I heard some people talking in another page about how they're a musician and they need help, and they sort of don't know if a place exists for just musicians to talk about it. And so that got me thinking, maybe there is. if I have a Facebook search, I can just have a look and see if there is one. That's how I sort of stumbled across the page.
So in other words, you were in not the same situation of circumstances, but you did what I did a couple of years ago, October 2019. And you basically said, man, what if someone needs to talk and they're a musician, and you searched for what the relative keywords, and what you came up with is what I have created, which is, at the end of the day, that's what I wanted to achieve. Absolutely. Because when I did that search, there was nothing.
Wow.
There was a couple of pages, and I'm talking worldwide. There was a couple of pages that talked about, as your topic is music being used as a mental health tool, or people sharing music that is themed around mental health. And there's a couple of pages, of course, there's Support Act. Support Act is an amazing foundation. But Support Act is a public place.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other things that are public places where they talk about things.
Public places can be slightly threatening to people going through something. And I think it's very important that there is a private group available.
Yep. And the other thing is I do not care if you're male, female, any gender definition that you are, any race or anything. It is purely a case of, are you a musician?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Are you struggling, or do you want to talk to people or help people that are struggling? What do you want to do? Let's just talk, and that's all that matters. It's not. There is time and places for gender specific groups. Yeah. Like the women in the music industry need a place to talk, because obviously there are a lot of predators out there and stuff that they need to be aware of. And the LGBTQ. I don't want to miss any, but you know what I'm saying. They require a space where they can feel the freedom of not being attacked.
Absolutely. And be entitled to that.
Absolutely, and so do men. Yeah. And that's coming. So I will, man, I was really curious as to how you found it, and it sounds to me like it's exactly how I was hoping it would be found.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So I succeeded on that. Woohoo!
Awesome. All right, well, I'll cut it on that, and it's been great to have you on, man.
Cool, man.
As my initial first podcasting experience.
You've made one mistake.
What's that?
in the intro, you didn't say the name of your podcast. What is your podcast?
I don't have a name for it yet. I guess.
Oh, okay. You'll have to do that as a as a tag on, which some people do. Obviously, they have their welcome to the
Yeah,
blast.
absolutely. Yeah.
Cool, man. I thought it might have been Tasty Tones.
that could be it. That certainly could be a thing.
Well, man, I look forward to when it is actually named and when it is, we'll definitely share this on my page.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, you should.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Right,
well, thanks for having me, man.
No worries, man.
And we'll chat soon and let me know when it's ready.
Yeah, for sure.
Take it easy, man, and you're always welcome on the page.
Thanks, mate.
Take it easy. Have a good one.
Take it easy. You too.